When the UFC middleweight champion of the world can't keep up with David Goggins, you know it's serious.
60? Fuck.
So today I'm going to be reacting to Israel Adesanya training with David Goggins, and unfortunately Izzy could not keep up.
Motherfuckers thought this was a joke. Come off it, Izzy. Don't come off it, Izzy.
But I'm going to break down what went wrong and why this is not a negative on Izzy, all from a fitness coach's perspective. So let's get into it. So if you see initially, they started the workout with a 5K. A few things you got to take into consideration is one, David Goggins lives in Arizona, so that Arizona heat hits different. Also, you have to take in consideration that this is David Goggins' territory. Like, he probably runs this route on a regular basis, so he knows the elevation, he knows when there's going to be hills, he knows when to pick up the pace, he knows when to hold back. So if you run a route, you get used to it and it just doesn't affect you as much. And this is Izzy's first time running this route, period. And initially, he's keeping up. He's keeping pace with David. It was going all well for Izzy until he hit that hill. As soon as there was some elevation, that's when the distance happened, and you could see the breakdown in Izzy's body language. So not only was he starting to track behind, his partner behind him was tracking even farther behind. And just looking, like, if you look at the footage, like, David Goggins is not even like breathing hard at all. He's like cruising, and he's like a few leagues ahead of these guys. So that's the first thing to take into consideration. And this is how they're starting their workout. After the run is done, they go into this workout. Now, this is not a regular workout where you're doing a few sets of resistance training. David Goggins got him doing like 3 different cardio movements, plus with some plyometric exercises at the end, including pull-ups. So why couldn't Izzy keep up? Let's explain the following. The first thing is conditioning. Now, as you would think, as a UFC middleweight champion, Israel Adesanya is conditioned. Now, I don't know if he was on prep or off prep for a fight. Whether he was on or off, it really doesn't matter, because even when you're prepping for a fight, the style of training to get you to the type of conditioning you need to be is not David Goggins' style of training. When David Goggins trains, he's training for mental hardening. So he's trying to put himself through the absolute most brutal workout to get himself mentally tough to be able to battle his demons on a day-to-day basis. Now, he's been doing this for years. So for him to get to that place is completely different for what it might take Izzy to get to that place. So now, what's the main difference between like the style of training that it would take Izzy to prepare for a fight and for David Goggins to do these long freaking 50-mile, 100-mile races? It's literally the difference between training your aerobic system from anaerobic system. And what do I mean? So when you train your aerobic system, you're using oxygen to fuel yourself longer with lower intensity activity, while the anaerobic exercises uses glycogen instead of oxygen for short-term powerful bursts of activity, where your aerobic exercises are often associated with endurance activities like jogging. The anaerobic exercises usually include activities like sprinting, weightlifting, or like short bursts that you would see in sparring with fighters. And that's the key difference that you're seeing here between David Goggins and Israel Adesanya. So what's the biggest difference between the mental training and the physical training? Adesanya trains for performance, precision, timing, explosiveness off the back foot when he's trying to react to somebody or counter someone's kick or punch. While Goggins, he's training to suffer. His workouts are designed to break your spirit and rebuild it. That's not something most fighters are conditioned mentally for unless they're exposed to it. So it's not like Israel couldn't train for this style of training, but he's just never been exposed to it, which is why you put me in that situation, I'm gonna be gassed out. But if you give me a couple of months to prep, I don't know how the shortest pace I could keep up, but I might be right up there on that Stairmaster. Who knows? I might need a few months to train though. That's all I'm saying. What's the other big difference? Recovery and overtraining. Elite fighters like Izzy usually follow a structured training recovery plan. Throwing in this crazy David Goggins suffer session mid-camp or even off-season could shock the system. Not because Israel Adesanya is weak, just because he's not built for this random style punishment. But again, if he knew ahead of time what he was going to be encountering and he trained for that at least a couple of months, I guarantee you he wouldn't have been throwing up. He would have been right up there with him. That leaves us with what Izzy could have done differently. What could he have done differently specifically to not have this like crazy reaction with him throwing up and falling off the Stairmaster? Let's get into that. The first thing is periodized exposure to mental conditioning. If Israel Adesanya wanted to handle this style of workout, he needed to use slow integration, maybe start with 10 to 15 minute mental grinders post-training. Like after his training, he needed to do like 10 to 15 minute sessions where he's just grinding out any type of exercise, whether it's the Stairmaster, whether it's the assault bike, it could even been like high intensity intervals with the treadmill, whatever. But it had to be after his training. And then over time, what you do is you increase it. You see what his heart rate is, you track how many calories he's burning, and then week by week by week, you try to increase that. And it's the same principle as progressive overload. When you're progressively overloading, where you are in month 6 is not where you are in month 1. But if you take someone in month 1 and you try to get them to do a set of 12 to 15 with the same weight that they'll be using at month 6, they're going to hurt themselves. So that's all it is. It's just periodized preparation and making sure that you're gradually increasing the stress. Another big thing is nutrition. Who knows how Izzy ate before this grueling workout? Did he carb load? Because a workout like this is going to expend a lot of energy, and you need that glycogen that you get from the carbs that you eat to be able to do a workout like this. This is why marathon runners usually have the carb gels, where they're just throwing these gels that have extra carbs in them, and they'll carb load maybe a few days before a run. And who knows if Izzy even did this. He probably didn't. And then I do believe he was also traveling. So if you're traveling and you're going from place to place and you're partying, like, you're probably not recovering right, you're not sleeping right, you're not eating right, and then you go into the David Goggins torture chamber. Like, there's no way, if you put anyone in those conditions, that they're gonna come out with a different outcome than Izzy. You know what I'm saying? I even believe that he did this, he was training with another fighter, another elite fighter, and same thing, broke him. But that's because this is how David Goggins trains. And if you want to get to that level of training, especially when it comes to endurance training, you need to prepare yourself for that. In closing, does this mean that Israel Adesanya is not a great fighter, or that this is like a strike against him? No, because I don't care who you put in there under those same conditions with the same variables, it's going to be the same outcome. Who knows, like, on a spectrum how extreme the reaction would be? Who knows? But if you didn't eat right, you didn't sleep right, and you didn't prepare for that type of style of training, you're not ready, especially training with someone like David Goggins. So you let me know, what do you think? Do you think if you put yourself under the same circumstance with the same variables that you would have been able to keep up with David Goggins? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, and as always, until next time, fuck your insecurities. And really quick, as you can tell, always got the HTLT on hand. So if you want to support your boy, make sure you go to htltsubs.com and use code JesusV and you'll get 15% off. Peace.